Hello everybody and welcome back to Tlatoani, where apparently we're looking at this. I don't know exactly why, but this is where it was when I loaded it up. That must have been where I closed it, I guess? Sure. So we're mostly just waiting for stone to come in at this point. So we're cruising along at 6x speed right now. Oh, that's actually 4x. This is 6x speed. Okay, that sounds good for the moment. And we're keeping an eye on a few things like food production. So food production should be reasonably good at this point. Yeah, that looks slightly positive. Not terribly positive, but slightly positive. So that seems okay for now. Now, these canals out over here aren't fully built, so that will come up a little bit, but not a huge amount. For now, that looks okay, though. So I'm not terribly concerned about that. What we need right now, of course, is some of these buildings in here finishing up. And that mostly means, we just finished a noble compound here. That's neat. I like it. So that is absolutely good. This market is lacking a lot of resources, actually. It's got some timber. It does have some timber. I'm thinking about maybe putting in some kilns up over this way. So that would be like, we can only fit in 2 here, but we can do something like that. And these kilns, apparently it's not giving us progress through these gates. That's interesting. But that would allow us to potentially get some pottery down over here, which would be, you know, a good thing. We can certainly be getting pottery here and then getting pottery here. So what else are we really interested in getting up here? Well, food. That would be useful. We do have some food coming in from this granary, but there's only so much that it can get, right? So that's a bit of a concern, to be sure. That said, our food quantities are actually technically slightly negative for this year at this point. Interesting. I wonder if that has to do with the time of year. I'm just keeping an eye on that right now. We're still relatively negative on our quantity of maize at this point. Indeed. It may have something to do with the time of year. We may get caught back up as we get through the year here. So we'll keep an eye on that. For the time being, I want to check in down over this way and see how we're doing on some of our stone requirements over here. So we need a lot more stone, no doubt about that. Let's leave these be for the time being. Okay, that seems okay. So as far as stone requirements down here go, there are still large numbers of stone that we need to get in over here, but the number has been reduced significantly. So we're making good progress on that. A lot of what we need over here currently is artwork. So our staff are out inspecting buildings right now. We may still need more masons over here to keep all of this maintained. Something to think about, for sure. So checking in on food now that we're on day 261. Yeah, so that doesn't look great, does it? I think we need to expand our farming more out over this way. So to that end, we can take this out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7, like that. And then this would come out to be at that same level. We'd have this come out over here as well. It can just come out a ways. That's fine for the moment. And then we'd need to bring in more stone canals out over here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like that. This would be the correct amount. Yes. Okay, so stone canals like that mean that we can, of course, put in some farmers' huts here. Now they're going to be starting to run out of services out over this way. So education may be a problem. We could probably consider putting some education here, but that wouldn't really reach up this direction very well. It might be better off putting it out over here. So for now, that's fine. We can put in a farmer's hut here, and here, and here, and here. Now, this down over here, I still want to be producing a bit of a mixture. So let's get some fruit trees going in here. It's just about producing food. So we're going to get food production going there. And then this is also going to be partial maize production. That's 18. Hang on. Something's not right there. That's 16. Perfect. So we'll get some of this going here. That's 24. Ideal. And then we'll get that chili in there as well. We'll do the same thing right up over here where this is primarily going to be producing maize. And then we'll get these fruit trees in. And chili beds. This up over here, though, I want to delete that. This didn't actually correctly do the crops. Some of the crops were assigned incorrectly there. So let's go ahead and do the maize field again here. There we go. Fruit trees 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's 7. Hang on. I messed something up here for sure. So this is going to go here and here and here. And that's where I messed it up. Gotcha. There we go. That's more like it. And then fill that out with chili beds. Perfect. So now what we need to do is we need to put another farmer's hut up right over here. And just like this one up here, I'm going to have this one be full maize. So this is going to be maize here, like that. And then we're going to have this come out over this direction to... These can reach up to 4 tiles for their stone canals, right? I'm pretty sure that's the case. Out to 4 tiles. Yes. So in that case, we can do something like this. And then fill this out to be like that. Okay. So that's fine. We'll get that going. We clearly need more food production. So let's get that online as soon as possible. Because our maize is absolutely dropping off right now. I'm assuming we had some population growth at some point. Okay, so most of that is now under some amount of construction. These canals are going to take some time because they need stone, but that'll get done eventually. I'm not too concerned right now about services for these. We'll come back to that later. Tlaloc is displeased by our lack of devotion. Now, that's something we can absolutely build out over here. So Tlaloc is enabling the growth of vegetation, right? So we'd like to get a shrine to Tlaloc somewhere out over this direction. And the question is where? This is strong symmetry right up here. Let's do it. There's also strong symmetry down here. So let's get that going in there. Beautiful. So that's again going to take stone and artwork, and that's not great, but we'll get that going for the time being. We can see we're also net negative in our axe monies. This is probably due to the amount of stone that we're importing. We can probably start thinking about doing an export of timber and potentially even some clay. I'm wondering right now, let's see, that's with the capital. I'd rather not do it there. So I'm looking for a timber export location. There's not really one available, is there? So that's absolutely noted. We could just export it to the capital. I'm not happy about it, but we could. Something like that. It'll not be ideal, for sure. But for now, it'll do. So that's fine for the moment. And the next question, of course, is, down over this way, how much of this is crumbling? And the answer is certainly some. Certainly some. So that's absolutely noted. We could think about putting an additional mason yard here and here. And I'm going to. We could also put one, like, here and up over this way somewhere. That's a theoretical option as well. But I want to get these mason yards online as soon as we can. And yeah, these are already built, and the staff are out inspecting buildings. This barracks just finished. That is a very good sign. That was a big chunk of the stone that we needed. This one is still at 221. This is still at 50. We don't need stone here. 50 here, 50 here, 50 here, 50 here, and 18 out over this way. This border yard is now done. That looks great. And this border yard will finish up fairly soon. So things are definitely looking good for us. I think we're going to have far fewer things crumble, but I'm still working on getting through all of this deficit for right now. I do see that we're slightly positive in our axe monies at this point. That looks good. And then in our maize, we're positive again. So that's excellent. Down over here, the question is, are these canals finished? And the answer is no. So we're still going to be producing a little bit more maize than what we've got going on. Also, these are going to be supervised by Tlaloc. They also want to shrine to Jipe Totek. So we might want to consider putting one in somewhere out over here. This is all good symmetry. Yeah, let's do that there. That'll be fine. And then we could also put one over here. That'll help supervise some of these areas and hopefully boost their production a little bit. Now, I'm noticing us going negative in our axe monies here. I'm not terribly concerned about that because our stone imports are going to be reducing soon-ish. Soon-ish. So that'll be good. I'm just noting that we still need a lot of stone down over this direction, but a lot of what we need up here is now artwork. So that's looking great. We will be replacing these crumbled structures, but I'm just waiting until after a lot of this other stone is actually finished. So that's looking good. These temples will, of course, be completed soon. Some of our masons lack stone and clay. Yeah, that's to be expected. So it looks like our might is now high enough now that we've got this barracks up over here. So that seems absolutely fine. No problem there. It's not providing much security right now. That's because it has no source of armor or weapons. That's because this border yard isn't done yet. Once this border yard finishes, that should no longer be a problem. Okay, how's food? It's kind of spicy. It's kind of spicy. We've not finished these stone canals over here, so irrigation out over here is not perfect at this point. So these will produce more later. That's definitely good to know. We can also be expanding our farms out over this direction. It's just slightly awkward. But we could certainly take out some of these gardens. This market is in a very strange place. No doubt about that. So we've got a little bit more space out over here that we can use as well that is going to be irrigated. So that seems relatively fine. And as we finish up the stone canals over here, this will improve. So keep in mind, maize is not our only food supply, right? We've got fruit here. And our fruit that we have in stock right now is what? We do have some in stock, like 120. And then our chili, we have like 180 in stock in homes. So we definitely have some food in stock other than maize. So that's definitely something to think about. I'm thinking right now that we should probably extend the... Well, I'm thinking here, this would actually... If we put a road here, this would be a little bit awkward, but we would be able to get some single-sized farms in right here. So we can take a road up like that, and then we'll want to Chinampa this area, for sure. So I want to Chinampa this and everything up over here. We'll do something like that. And then I'm not sure what overall size we want for this. But we can get these Chinampas made very quickly. So that looks good. No problem with the Chinampas there. Those are now solidly underway, and they're going to be done very soon. So we'll come back to that in just a moment. That looks fine for right now. So our axe monies are definitely dwindling. This is due to the very, very large amount of stone importation that we're still doing. So we're going to be done with that fairly soon, eventually, anyway. But we keep spending more stone, so that continues to be a thing. Out over this direction, we're not really getting our porter yards all the way down over here. We should probably put in another porter yard somewhere over this way, which I'm going to go ahead and do. And this is, of course, going to be primarily for construction construction materials right now. So we'll get that underway, and we'll get the wood in there very quickly. The stone, not so much. So that'll take a little while. That's understood. So at this point, we can see we're losing money at a pretty prodigious clip. And the question is, what do we want to do about that? So I think that we should probably ramp up our timber exports. And maybe even our clay exports here. These are terrible exports. So what other things can we export? We could export cotton, which apparently we can't actually export. We could export food, potentially. We're already exporting cotton here. We could bump that up. But I think this is mostly just indicative of the fact that we're importing crazy amounts of stone. And we're not seeing tremendous amounts of progress on the stone construction down here, which is telling me that that stone is being consumed on other things. Perhaps artwork construction, perhaps maintenance, or perhaps these sorts of constructions out over here, which we do see are making some progress. So that's noted. Our finances are a very large concern right now. I'm going to take us down to normal speed at this point. And the real question then is, where is that money going? So if we look at the overall finances here, we can see total expenses 11,371, and our total income was 8,013. So that's a pretty big negative balance. We only got 8,013 in exports, so we may have to turn up our taxes at least to here. That'll help offset this. I don't know by how much. We'll find out. I wish we got an estimate of what this was going to end up being. We could also turn down our wages, and I'm going to just set these at 100% for the time being. And I'm going to set our taxes at 10%. So those are just at the default at this point. So that'll be fine, and we'll see how much that affects our actual balance here. This is, I think, still just due to the huge amount of stone that we're importing. I'm 95% certain about that. Okay, so checking in here, we can see this year we got, well, 30 from property tax. There's not a lot of tax collectors out and about because we've not been historically very reliant on tax collecting. So that's absolutely understood. Now this area up over here is done, and I'm going to put in a farmer's hut right here. And this is going to be a maize-only situation, and we're just going to fill in this area up over here. We're going to fill in this, and that's 16, and then that's 32 right there. So we can take a road up here. Let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's actually the correct size, which is kind of wild. Yeah, that is correct. Look at that. Okay, that's neat. The next one won't be. That's for sure. I'm still going to put the road through at the correct position, which would be right here. And then we'd have a road through up over here, and then a road through up over here, right? And that would be something kind of like that. We're going to need to extend stone canals down through all of that. At least 2 here, not necessarily including here. So that's going to be a little on the slow side. No doubt about that. But that will get us some additional maize production up over here. And then we're going to put in an additional farmer's hut right here. And this is going to be maize here. Now, this is not going to be full. That's 20 out of 32. And then this is going to be 32 out of 32. Now we can do another farmer's hut down here. This is a kind of truncated area, so we just need to keep this relatively clean. So we're going to put in some maize fields here, and then this whole area should bring us to 32 out of 32, like that. Perfect. And this should be fully irrigated by this canal. So that looks good. We've got additional farms coming in here, and our main concern now is financial. So let's take a look at what that's looking like. We can see that we are making 450 from exports so far this year, which is minimal. So our overall balance is still very negative, but we've only just changed over, so we'll see what that ends up feeling like. A lot of these exports, I suspect, have not yet happened. So we don't really have anywhere to export raw timber to. We could make more furniture manufactories. Over here would be a decent spot to do that. So we could extend like this out over here like so, and then bring this up over here. This would be mildly awkward, but it would be something kind of like that. And then we'd set up a few furniture manufactories over here. So that would be furnishers. Like that. Now, this porter yard would need to be getting obsidian, and it would need to... It does balance the timber. Let's have this be getting timber. There we go. So I'll do something like that, get that online, and that will then be accepting furniture as well. Cool. So something like that. We'll get some additional furniture production, and that will help us export furniture here. I'm also interested in finding potentially another location to do that export in. This one, maybe? It can do jewelry. We could export armor, potentially, but this is currently full. Let's bring down the amount of stone here, and let's start up an armor export over here. There we go. And then up over this direction. Yeah, we're already exporting pottery and furniture here, so that's understood. Stone and obsidian, yeah, we're importing the stone. We're trying to export the cotton. That's noted. So we could definitely get more furniture down over here, though, in this one. So that looks okay. We'll get that underway. So that seems fine for now. We're definitely seeing our deficit dropping over the course of the year. Let's take this back up to 6x. Let's keep an eye on that deficit. It's going back up right now, but we're just kind of waiting on exports. There we go. There's a big export. So we're now back positive for the year. That's looking good. Those furniture manufacturers are online now. That looks excellent. And we could maybe use more housing out over here. Yeah, I think we definitely could. So I'm going to run roads right up to here. And then I'm also going to run a road over here, like that. It's a little bit awkward in terms of its spacing over here, but we'll run it straight on up there. We can put in a home here, here, and here. And then there's a little bit of extra space over here. So that seems fine. We're lacking some obsidian, but we should have that coming in. Excellent. Now, are we seeing any additional maintenance issues out over here? Hopefully not. That's the dream, anyway. So we're definitely seeing these noble compounds over here getting finished. That's a very, very good sign. They need maize to develop. In theory, they'll get it from this market. Emphasis on in theory. And this is now relatively online over here, but we can see that these canals are still not fully built out over this way. So that's absolutely noted. And the next question is, what about maintenance for those canals? We might need additional mason yards out over here. Like one down over here, perhaps. There is this one, though. So that's probably good enough for right now. Are these guys able to reach this granary? Not really. So I'm going to put in another granary down over here for acceptance of the food. That's going to be, like, right here. And that's going to be accepting maize, fruit, and chili. And we'll just take all of these up to 200 each. Like that. So that's going to be additional stone, but we'll want to get that done regardless. Okay. Goods have been stolen from a common home. Okay, sure. For now, I'm not terribly concerned about that one. So we are definitely making progress on getting done with the stone out in this area, but we've got a ways to go yet. We can see we're definitely starting to export some armor over here, and I'm wondering if we can export any weapons to anyone other than the capital. Yes, we can. Let's do it. Oh, wait, is that the capital? No, that's not the capital. Okay, so we'll start to export some weapons as well. That should be fine. I think we have enough weapon production. If not, we can expand it. It'll be profitable for us, so that's absolutely a-okay. So for now, that's all looking fine, but it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we are going to keep an eye on our financial situation as well as our food situation, which both so far appear to be pretty okay. And then we're going to hopefully see our constructions finish on all of this stone that we need down over here. We're getting very, very close now to being through our stone deficit, and that's huge. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Dark Horse, Ethan Feldman, Aurelio, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.